Today's build is sponsored by the Cargo Hold, an amazing Star Wars group for collectors showcasing their collections, buying and selling items, and generally geeking out over Star Wars. So a massive thank you to the Cargo Hold. So while we're waiting on the primer to dry, you need to really give that a good 24 hours before you give it a good sand. So it's a long process, but the end result should look good. But what I'm going to do now is weather the sort of caps for the helmets. So what I'm going to do with these is put these into hot water with tea, a little bit of coffee, just so it gets stained with the colour. They just look a little bit too new. So just that will just help with some of the staining. And then I'm going to look to weather it further. So I'll try to scuff it a little bit more with sort of rocks or something, a grater or something like that, just to give it a little bit more texture. I'm even going to, I've got a bag of dirt out there. I'm going to put a handful of dirt, smoosh it all in, rub it off, things like that, and just try to dirty this up. Because I've been at the wars, it's not going to be clean, and it has to look as if it's been used. So let's go on to see about weathering these up and see what we can do with them. Okay, so I want to weather these. I've got myself a basin, about 4 tea bags. We'll start with that. If I need to add in more, we will. I've boiled a kettle. Also, another excuse to make a coffee. And I've also got some old coffee in here as well. It's been cold. I'm going to throw that in there as well. So let's get boiling water in here. Get some tongs. Let's move that about and get some. I think 4 tea bags will certainly be enough. Let's show you what this is like. There we go. I'm just mixing that around. Maybe add some cold water to it as well, possibly. I'm going to take the old coffee, throw that in there as well. Give it a good mix. Smells lovely. And basically now what I'm going to do is dip these into it, and then I'm going to leave them in there, check it every 10 minutes, because I don't want it to go too dark, but enough just to give it a little bit of colour and stuff like that. So let's just dip these in. So you see there, it's starting to change colour already. Let's get the other one in. Get a good slush. You also want it to fold things up to get some nice, hopefully some nice shapes and things and coloration. So that's what I'm going to do. Just get things in there like that. Just fold bits up. And hopefully I'm not going to screw these over or they get into the washing machine. Okay, let's leave that for 10 minutes and see what that does. Just one thing to add, I don't mind that the tea bag is burst and you get some of the tea leaves over the top. I actually don't mind that. That's just going to add a bit of flavour to these. So let's get some of the tea bags over the top. Let's do things like that. Get all that over. There we go. Get some of that goodness. And then let's leave it for 10 minutes, as I say. And we'll see how that goes. Okay, so these have been soaking for about 20 minutes. See some of the colour change, see some of the tea over the top. What I'm going to do is, while these are wet, I'm going to take them outside. It is raining just now, but that doesn't really matter. I'm going to take them outside. I've got a bag of compost, dirt, whatever, and I'm going to rub some of that on that while it's wet so it seeps into it a little bit more. And then once it's dry, I might do the same thing again. Or I may use some paints over it just to wash things a little bit more if I feel like it needs it. But I'm trying to do this as naturally as possible. So let's go outside, put some dirt onto it, see how we got on. Okay, I'm sort of partly sitting inside my mine cave because it's raining. I have a spare head from a mannequin. You'll see in a future video why I have a spare head for a mannequin. We'll come on to that. I have, let's just show you what I've got. So, got the mannequin, I've got a bag of dirt, compost, whatever you want to call it, and I have these here as well. So what I'm going to do is put that, one of them, on here, and then smear over some of the dirt or over the cover. So, got this on the mannequin, handful of dirt, and I'm just going to rub this in. It's already really dirty in places. I'm going to give it a little wash to take some of this off. I just want to get some of the dirt in. Rub it in. Obviously that's too much. But again, I'm going to take a brush and we're going to wash some of that off. So that one's done. Put that back in there. Give it a little wash with the tea. See, it's already starting to come off. But we've got some dirt splatters, things like that. As you can see there, the bits here, that's what I wanted. So I'm going to do the same with the other one. Put that over the top. And full of dirt. Like so. Just give it a rub all over. Just so it's real dirt. I want to get the edges as well, just so I get everything. And then I'm going to take this off. Get a little rub here and there. Put it back into the tea, which will sort of wash as well as get rid of some of the big parts of the dirt. And again, that should do it. And then what I'm going to do is run it under this tap or a shower just to get rid of some of the tea stains and stuff like that. So I'm going to do this a couple of times until I get it to the way I want it. Do it again. Want to give it a good rub in. It's almost black. Let that sit for a minute. Do the same with this one. Let that sit for a minute. And then I think we might be good to go. So let's just move that to the side. I'm going to have to clean my decking. So let's just give us a wee wash again in the tea, the dirty water. You can see there, we should get some good markings and things like that once it all dries in. So what I'm going to do is take this to the shower, going to give it a little rinse out and see how it looks. Now rinsed out. Oop, drop my glasses. So these are starting to look a bit more dirty. You can see some black splodges of dirt, etc., which is what I was looking for, a bit more natural way using the real dirt. There might be more I need to do to this to see, depending how it goes. This one is similar, maybe not quite as much black splodges over it. So again, once it's properly dried, I'll probably give it another ground in dirt, just to give a little bit more to it. When it's not wet, let that dry in for a bit and then just brush it off. That should give a little bit more texture. And then what I want to do is scuff it, try to get some, not rips, well maybe some rips, but stuff like that, just again wear and tear. But what I'm going to do is try and hold these up, a little peg, just to make sure, and let them dry. Okay, the sun's back out, which is good. So these have been dried overnight, so they're looking pretty good. They need to be dirted up even more, but what it's done is it's taken that sort of really new look away from it. There's a couple little stains here and there, which you may or may not be able to see in the sunlight, but it just needs a bit more. And I also want to scuff them up a little bit as well and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a scuff, try to get some, not necessarily rips, but just to a bit more wear to them. And then what I have here is an even thicker soup of a little bit warm water, a lot of cheap coffee, sort of granules just to make it the brown colour. And I've even thrown in a little handful of the dirt as well. So everything is in there, and what we'll do is we'll paint it over certain parts as well and things like that. Again, just to make it look more natural. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a stone, come back, and then we're going to start scuffing that up. Okay, so I've got a stone. You can see there it's got some little rough edges, things like that. I'm going to give it a go, see if I can try and scuff it up a little bit. I'll get my mannequin head, so I'm going to put this on top. So I've got something I can hold and look at as I'm doing it. And I'm just going to take the stone and just sort of try and put some marks into it. Hopefully the odd little tear here in it if I can. But just make it look a bit more worn. So if you see what I'm doing here, I'll zoom in a little bit further. See there, it's starting to fray some of the edges here, starting to do a little bit of a fraying on it, which is what I'm looking for. Again, I want this to look worn. Now they've been out in battle, they're in the rain, whatever weathers, and it's not going to look new unless they're a new soldier. But that's not what I want. That's not what Star Wars is all about. Star Wars is dirt and grime. And they're starting to fray. So you can see that there. So I'm really happy about that. Don't want to do too much. Just want to make it look a little bit worn, like I say. Various places. Start to see some of the marks coming up, and it's just making it a little bit fuzzier looking, things like that. Hopefully you can see that on camera. Okay, there, so you can hopefully see that. A little bit of fraying, a little bit of marks, as if it's been in the battles. I'll do a little bit more to this one, and then I'll go on to the next one. Okay, I think I'm going to leave that one as it is. Got a few marks on it, things like that. It's looking a little bit more worn, a little bit more sort of rubbing at the top, just taking away some of the fabric, but not too much that I'm eating all the way through it. So I think that'll do for that one, and then on to the next. In fact, hopefully you'll see the difference. This one is sort of wearing. You see there's some rips at the side, that one doesn't. Hopefully you can see the sort of difference on the camera with just what that does. Again, I don't want to go overboard, but I just want to do enough that it's going to make it look a little bit more worn, as I say. Next one. It's coming along, taking that away, like that little rip there. Might try and see if I can replicate that on the other one. Again, just to give it a little bit more flavour, a little bit more life. That's what you're trying to do with these things. Now, what I'm going to do is take my coffee and dirt concoction. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go over and start painting, almost just basically painting into some of the creases and things like that. Because basically we just want to, now it will go in dark, but that'll wash off and we'll it'll lighten up a little bit and things like that. So again, I'm just going to give it a light coating like that. And I'm not too worried about just now about being too dark, because what we'll do is we'll run it under a tap, wash some of this off, and then you should be left with something that's not quite as dark as that. But I'm trying to get into all the little creases. Again, I don't want to go overboard, but just to make it, wouldn't be sweaty because you wouldn't sweat through the helmet, but again, just to add a bit of flavour to it. It's going in. Okay, so you can already see it's starting to lighten up, even just in the sun with it drying out. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go under a tap just to take away some of that real darkness that's there. In fact, what we'll do is I'll come up with a bit of some water, and we'll probably just sit with a little jar of water and do it here. There's no need to go under a tap as such, or I'll bring out a little basin. We'll do that, so I'll be back in a second. So I've got a little bucket of water here. So we're just going to put this in. In fact, I'm just going to keep it on the head. I'm just going to dip in, make it a little bit wet again, and just brush away some of the darkness, just to make it a little bit lighter. The good thing about using water and coffee and things like that, it doesn't really damage your brushes as such, so you'll be able to reuse them. Okay, so I'm going to wait for that one to dry and sort of see what that looks like. It's quite sunny today, so that should dry within about 50 minutes or so, and we'll give a little look to sort of see how it goes. So we'll go on to the next one. Okay, so I'm going to leave that just now, leave that to dry, and then we'll see what that gives us in terms of how it looks, etc. Hopefully you can see that there, and then that one. So we'll leave these to dry, we'll hang them up, and we'll come back. Okay, so I can't use 3D software. I don't know how to use things like Blender and stuff like that. At some point I'll hopefully learn that, but for simple shapes and simple things to do, I just use Tinkercad, and it works well. Again, for someone who's not used to 3D software, it does an okay job in terms of creating basic shapes and stuff like that. So I'm just going to create a new 3D design. So we'll load up the window, and I'm going to import that part of the torch. So let's go to import. I'm just going to find that file. I'm going to make props, STLs. I want to find the Rebel helmet. There we go. And it is there's a flashlight holder which goes to the back, which I'm going to need to look at as well. So it holds the back of it. But I also want to look at, this is actual flashlight. But basically what I want to do is take this ribbed part and have that go over the torch that's already there. Just to give it that look. So basically that's what I want to do. So I'm just going to import this. So let me go here, take that. I want it in millimeters, scale 100%. Yes, please. Let's hide that for the time being. So that's importing. So there we go. We have that now imported into here. And again, I want to be able to cut through that. So I want to cut, if I can zoom in a little bit. Basically, I want to cut here and here, make sure that's 52 millimeters wide. But also, I need to make sure that I get the hole for the torch the way I want it. Now, that side's thicker than the other. Also, that's where the lens goes. So I'm just going to try and make it as thin as possible. Because obviously, you get the thickness of the torch itself. And we'll go from there. So, what I'm going to do, let's just go home, go back to there. I'm going to select a cylinder. I want to make sure, that is, you can make it quite a jagged edge or go all the way up. I want to make that as smooth as anything. I also want to change the size. So I know the inside I want to be 27. So let's just go to 27 just now. So that side and that side. And that's obviously going to be wider than what this is. So I'm probably going to have to scale this up. So let's move that. I'm going to make this. That's not what I want. I want to extrude it. There we go. So it's longer. I want to take that one. I just want to make sure that no, this is going to be quite a bit bigger than what the actual torch is there. So that's obviously quite thin. It's probably about the right size of the torch that I got just now. But obviously, I want to take that ribbed part and add it to it. And again, it's just going to be an extra thing that holds the torch together and puts it all together. So let me see what I can do here. So I want to take that. I want to rotate it so it's flat. Make it the same, 90. So you can see there the difference. If I move it over here, can I just move that down onto the work? There we go. So you can see it's a bit different. So this torch, I'm just going to double check the size of this again. So this torch is 25 millimeters wide. Try to think, what is the width of that? That's 20. So it's about 21. So the torch is a little bit wider than that. But again, it's fine. That looks quite big compared to that one. It looks too big compared to that one, to be honest. And that's saying that is... hold on, that's changed. That is changed. Something not quite right there. So I want to make sure that that's 25. And I want to make sure that that's 25. So that's 25. 25. That's 89 because it's wide. 89. 25. 27. There we go. Don't know what happened there. That's looking a little bit more like it. So I need to blow this up so that this can cut through it. So I'm just going to take this and we're going to make this a little bit bigger. Try to see if I can scale this up. There we go. So if that's 27, or I want the 25 to fit in the middle. So maybe 27 is going to be too much. You know what? I might be taking a chance here. I'm going to... Let's say that I've got this at 25, which is the actual size. I want to make that 26. I'm going to make it 26 rather than 27. So I do want it to be snug. so I don't have to do anything. And I basically want that to cut out of this. So if I move this up, so it's front on, so you can see here, I want to move that up, so it's something like that. To cut all the way through. I'm going to have to extend it, obviously. So that should be that. But what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to take this, and I'm just going to scale this down a little bit more. Just make sure I pick the right thing. Let's see what that's done. That's actually looking okay. Let's scale it down again a little bit further. That's 28, it's saying there. Let's make it 28. If I hit up here, that's saying 28, that's saying 27, so let's make that 28. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move that out of the way first, just to make sure I'm hitting the right thing. So that's 28, 28, 28, 28. So that should be 28, which is only a mil more than what that is. So let's just make it 29. No, in fact, it's 2 mil. Is 2 millimeters enough? Yeah, 2 millimeters is enough. Let's keep that at 28. So to make sure that these are both going to be centered, I think what I want to do is select all items. I want to align. I want to align center here first. I want to align center here. So it's bang on in the middle. So you can see there, that will cut out of there. Sort of bang on. So let's just go to home first to get this view. I want to select this one. And I basically want to stretch this further. So I don't want to move anything. I don't want to stretch it back the way. Like I say, I'm still getting used to this piece of software, so right, that's what I want. So I want that to cut all the way through there. So you can see here, it's cutting all the way through. So it was thick on the other end, thicker there. So what to do in this one is basically want to make this a hole. So you can see it's a hole. And what that'll do is you can sort of see it cuts all the way through. And then basically what you need to do is take all, and then you want to group. And once you group, that cuts a hole at the 23, or the 20, with the hole which was 27, or 26 rather, and then the torch, which is 2 mil wider either side. So that should be okay. I do need to double check because those ridges might be coming in. Maybe I've cut it too small, possibly. Trying to see. I'm still getting used to how all this works. I just don't want those ridges going all the way through, and on the hope that that's not going to. Hopefully it's just a visual thing, these bits here. Ultimately, that's what I want, and I want to make it, like I say, the 52. So again, I'm going to drop in another one of these, flip it on its side, and I want to say, let's just make them, again, just to get the size, let's make these 26. 26. So that should be, that's not quite right. Let's go in the corner, 26, 26. There we go, 26. So that's the same size as the hole in the middle. And I want to make the width 52. So I'm just going to visually get an idea of the size. So it's roughly around that. So if I could probably cut it in ever so slightly. So the cut is on here and on here, just on the edge. So I'm probably going to cut them there. But what I'll do is I can cut them in Bamboo Studio rather than doing it on here, because it's easier. So let me get rid of this. I'm just going to call this Rebel Torch. I hope I've spelled it right. I'm going to export this. It's an STL. Yes, allowed. And I now have my STL file. If I look at this, you see here my STL file of what I've just made. Done that fairly quickly in Tinkercad. I'm just going to give it a little look around. It's looking okay. I don't see anything that should maybe cause an issue. But we'll open up in Bamboo Studio. So I'm just going to hide this window for the time being. I'm going to open up Bamboo Studio. That's when I printed out the desk sticks, etc. So let's just get rid of them. I'm going to grab my torch, add it onto Bamboo Studio. And I'm just going to give this a check over. Now, because it's like that, I actually just want to print it going up and down. So I want to do it like that. Just want to make sure this is looking okay. Don't see any holes. Hopefully. I think that's actually going to be okay. So if I zoom out, and basically what I want to do is a cut across the bottom here, and then I think it was the second one down around here, and I'll use that section there. So I'm going to take a cut. Just going to move this down so I can see it better. I'm first going to actually want to move this up the way. If I can see the actual bit here, that's to spin it. I think it's this one here, there we go. So let's just cut around there. Let me make sure I've got in the right place. Probably around there, just for the next one joins. I'm just going to say perform a cut as the two parts there. I'm just going to take that part and get rid of it. So I've now got this part here. So now I want to take it to around. Let's perform another cut. I want to take it to around there. So that's telling me it's 53 from the bottom. So if that's 0, it was 52. So if I take it to the 53, that'll give me a straight cut there. I don't mind if it's hanging over slightly. So that's going to be enough. Perform a cut. That's what I want. Let's unselect objects. Keep that one. Get rid of that one. And that should be enough to cover the torch. So I want to print out 2 of these. Let's do that. Take that, arrange on the board. And what I'm going to do is print these out. And we'll see if that's going to be enough to fit around the torch. Okay, so the cover for the torch is printed. Printed out 2, so let's have a quick look. Just going to grab these. The printer. So here we go. I can have a quick look at these without my glasses. So I've printed out the little tubes. Just the rub effect. Take off the little brim that's around them. So they will need a bit of a sand. Fairly thin, but should be quite strong. And let's see, all going well, should fit one of these. So it's actually a little bit tight. Yeah, that's too tight. So I'm going to have to make them a little bit bigger. So I'm going to have to blow this up a little bit. Lengthwise, they're fine. Again, could be up a little bit more. Oh, these actually extend. Didn't realise that. Ah, allows you to zoom in and zoom out. Didn't realise that extended. I actually quite like that. With the red bit. That's actually quite nice. Wonder if I could use that. Anyway, sorry. I digress. That is just a little bit too too small. I can just get it on and no more, but it's not going to slide all the way up. So that needs to be another mil or two, a little bit bigger, just to allow that to slide up. So I'm going to have to print these again. So I'm going to blow them up, 101%, 102%. I might try and print out 4, 201%, 202%, and see if those would actually fit. So we'll get that off to print. Okay, so I printed out 3 sets, 101%, 102%, and 103%. So we're going to see which ones fit the torch better. So 101%, let's take these off, take the brim off. Right, let's see, is that, actually the 101 might be the one, or is that too tight? That's a little too tight. It's not going on as easily as I would like. Try that way. Not quite. So 101 can get so far, but it can't get past this middle bit. It's almost like the middle bit's slightly bigger. So I suspect the 102 will work, which will be one of these. Let's take the brim off. 102%. Let's give that a go. There we go. 102%, so that'll look like this. So it's giving that extra bit here. I probably will, that's actually moving around in there. But it's actually staying in. There's nothing moving. So I just pull it off. So I might still glue this in, just so it's in place, rather than it coming out. Because it does come out, but it's not going to fall out. So whether I glue it or leave it, I don't know yet. But that is actually okay. And you can just press it, comes on, does the job. So I might not need glue done. That might be okay once it's painted in, but it's still giving this look to it that I wanted. The rest of it can just stay the way it is. So I may glue it in. Just to keep it in place. And then you just charge it up at the back using the USB. So the 102% is the right ones. I'll use these for something else. I'm sure I'll find a use for them for something. So the 202%, let's just check the other torch, which I have down here. So I've got the other one here. Just fit on top. Fits nicely. Again, they're not falling out. They should be fine. But I probably will glue them, because there is a bit of movement in them, so I probably will glue them in once I've weathered them and sort of painted them up and things like that. But torches with a little bit of detail on them. And what I'll also do is I'll take a scrub out along the pavement or get some rocks or whatever and just scuff the torches as well. I'm not going to paint the torches because the torches are painted already. They're already there. I'm just going to try and weather them a little bit more, scuff them up, maybe try and make them a little bit dirty, and see if I can do that as well. So we'll look at doing that next. So a couple of the bits I've printed out. I've got the death stick boxes, basic cigarette boxes. Now these are printed out. It's a little bit rough in the front, even though I've put ironing on. I maybe need to change some of the settings, but the back side is quite rough. But I'll be able to salvage these. I'm just going to add Bondo to the back, Bondo to the front, and these will sand it down, and then we should be smooth and good enough to prime these. But I've got the death sticks boxes here, which will get primed up and painted. I've also got these up clip onto, these are like little cameras. You can see there, little cameras, or supposed cameras, and then these are 2 lenses. These made to clip onto the strap on the helmet. So that's what these do. So these just sort of strap on. I'll need to try to attach them somehow, maybe with a couple of screws or something. And yeah, but I like the lens on the front of the helmet. I want these to be proper lenses, just to get something extra. So again, with these two that I've got, I'm actually just going to go and see if these actually fit in. So or see if they actually fit that part. So these are the lenses, and these are the ones I bought for the front of the helmet. But what I want to see is if these are actually going to be the right size for that. And do you know what? I actually think they would fit in there quite nicely with a wee bit of glue. I need to drill this part, rather than me printing this out again, I'm just going to drill away this part to give me enough room. And I'm going to get another two of these little lenses, so I can just slot them in, and then that will look like proper lenses. I just need to see if I can get one small enough for this one, because that's too big, unless I can take the front of these off. No, that's stuck on there. So I'm not too sure if I can get smaller ones in these that will fit in that, or if somehow I can push them in, take this, maybe if I get another couple, cut these off, stick that in there somehow. Even if it's protruding a little bit, I don't mind, because it's still going to look the part. So maybe another 4 of these to help me think it. So I'm going to order up 4 of these and see if I can make these work for these little lenses, because I think that would look quite smart. And these appear, I just grab the helmet, these appear on the strap, and they attach to the strap. So they attach something like that onto the strap, and they're meant to be little makeshift cameras recording the action, things like that. So you get a camera on the front and a camera on the side. So what I'm going to do, I've got this little drill piece, which has just been charging. This little drill comes with these little drill bits here. I got this on Amazon, and basically all I'm going to do is use a drill bit to then drill away what's in here. No, this drill is quite handy. Like I say, you get different sizes, really handy for quick things. What I found about this drill is, though, even though you think it's switched off, you put it back into the case, it dies, basically dies. You have to keep recharging it every time you want to use it. So although it's good, it was a cheap one, so it's obviously not doing its job. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the camera over so you can see me doing this a bit more close up. This is a bit I want to drill out in here. So I'm just going to take the drill. As you can see, you even get a little torch on the end of it, which is handy. And I'm just going to drill away this bit in here, if I can. That actually gets stuck. Let's move that back in. What I might need to do is drill a thinner bit first, and then go with this thicker one, but let me see if I can just get this to work. There we go. Now this plastic is actually quite hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a thinner one. Try one of the thinner ones first. So I'm going to go with that one. Let's see how this goes. And then I'll go on to the thicker ones. Much better. So I'm just drilling away. Now you're all probably looking at this going, there's a better way of doing this, but I'm just doing it this way. This shouldn't take me too long. Okay, let me just do the same with this one first before I swap these around. So just try to get rid of that lump that's in there. So it's a little bit more flush so I can get the camera lens glued into it. Although I'm not going to glue it yet. I just want to make sure it fits. Because I want to obviously paint this first and then put the camera lens in because I don't want to damage the camera lens. So that's looking okay. As you can see there. Let's now get the holes. So what I want to do is see how this is going to fit in here. Now this is, I don't need this ribbon for this part. So I'm just going to try and rip this off. All going well. There's a little sticker thing on the back, which we don't need. I don't know if this bit comes off altogether. It would be good if it does. It doesn't look like it. Hoping that the lens can just pop off. So let's see if I can do that. It does look like a screw here, which is why I'm a bit perplexed why it's not just screwing off. See, there's a little lens. And it does look like there is a screw mechanism or a thread here. So I would have thought that the lens would just possibly screw off. But I don't want to damage it. Because it ain't for budging. Good news is, I managed to rip this part off, which was actually fairly easy, to be honest. So this just came off the back. And when that came off the back, I was able to pull off this part, leaving me just with this part of the lens. So that should, in all theoretically goodness, fit within there. So it looks like I'm going to have to drill a little bit more so I can screw this in basically, or just try to slot it into that hole. But that should actually fit in there. And then if I have another one, I can have one sitting like that, which will be extruded out just like that, as you can see. See if you can sort of see that on the screen. So that one will stick out. It will actually look more apart, like that. So something along those sort of lines will be glued in. And then the other one will be more flush. But I think that will look the part. So what I did for that was, let me grab another one of these. So you can see. Let's move the camera up for a little bit. So what I did was, for this part, I just basically pulled this off. Take that bit off first. There we go. So just pull that bit off, a little chip or whatever it is that's on that. And then using tweezers, and I was then able to pull with a little bit of, there we go, it's actually breaking it this time. The last one pulled off quite easily. There we go, now pulled off. And I'm now just left with the lens part, which is fantastic. So, what I'm going to do is just drill this in a bit more, just to make it a little bit wider, and then we should be good to go. Okay, I've decided to get the big boy drill out, just to get this a little bit further in, so I can hopefully make a slightly bigger hole, and not drill through the whole bloody thing. So, just going to be very careful here. I think I need a thicker. Not really doing much. So that might actually do the job. I'll just try to push it in or push it down a bit more. See, so it is taking some of it away. Oh, that's what I want. So it's a bit more like that. And then the other one will be more like that. So that's how it's going to look. And I think that looks the part. So take these out. The fact that that's not coming out shows that that's good. So that one's done. Let's see if our good old Allen key is actually going to do what I need it to do. Apply a wee bit of force, but not too much. I'll break the thing. Let's try this one. Oh, that's perfect. I love it when a plan comes together. Okay, so we got there in the end, but that's basically what I'm looking for both. So all I need to do is prime, paint, and that's the camera lenses for that side of it. So happy with that. Okay, so we've done quite a lot today. We have weathered the caps for the helmet. Those are still drying, so we'll check them out once they're dried. The wind is picked up, but I managed to get the first layer of standard primer onto the bit that overlays the helmet. Then we can start looking at spray painting them chrome and get through that whole process of that as well. But I still need to give it another coat of primer just to flip it over because I need to get the underside and make sure I get into all the little nooks and crannies. But once that's done, I can start the actual painting part of that. We have looked at the camera bit for the side to get the little camera lenses in, these little camera lenses. So we've got that part of it done. We've got these about to go. I'm just about to sand these. You don't need to see that on screen, but about just to sand the front of these just to make them a little smoother. And now, the last thing I'm going to do today, and we'll do more tomorrow, is I'm going to try and scuff up these torches just to give a little bit more wear and tear to them, things like that. I'd rather not paint them. I'd rather just keep the paint job that's already on them, apart from the bit I'm going to put over the middle, which are base coated as well in primer. So things like these, I'm not going to sand. These are just going to get a filler primer and then a primer. I might give them a light sand, possibly. Filler primer, maybe a light sand actually for these parts. But the actual bit that goes over the camera, I'm just going to primer them, done. And then just start painting and do the other things with them as well. So the last thing I want to do today is just see if I can scuff these up. And I'm thinking about maybe using the foot sander, a little bit of 80 grit, just to sand some of the parts, make it a little bit more wear and tear, but also stone, and just try and see if I can get some scrapes and scratches and things like that onto it as well. In fact, that's already scraped it and things like that. So the stone might just be enough just to put a little few wee dents here and there, things like that. So let's get on with this and see how we play with that. Okay, so I'm going to weather the torch and I'm going to use a stone, same stone I use for weathering the skull caps. And I just want to run this over the stone just to put some wear and tear into it. So I'm just going to take the stone, basically, obviously I don't want to damage the lens. I'm just going to run this over various parts of the stone, flat side as well. It's almost like as if the torch has fallen and been in the wars and things like that. So you start to see that already, starting to take some of the paint away, some scratches, dents, which is what I want. Stone over, try and get a different feel and different texture. Got that there. Yeah, that's looking the part. See that? Just getting some wear. Looks more realistic. What's going to happen with the torch when it's being used. So that's starting to look the part. See, there are some scrapes, scratches along the edge, little scrapes here. I think that part of it's good to go. Maybe just a little bit more. There we go, a wee bit more of a scuff. You can take this as far. Yeah, that'll do. I'll take this as far as you wish. But I think that side is good to go. I'm just going to do the back side now. Again, I don't need to worry about the middle because the middle's going to have a cover over it. So let's just do the back side. See there? That's what it's doing. So you see there, both the front and back now have the weathering on it. I'm going to do this one a wee bit more. Really hitting it. Yeah, that's what I want. A few wee scrapes, wee dents. Rather than just being painted on, it's actually real. Just make sure it comes on. Yes, it does. So it still works. So I think as of the outside of the torch for that one, I think that one is done. So let's go on to the next one and then see how they both look together. Okay, so I've now got both. You see there, both are now weathered up top and bottom, looking apart. I think they look good. So once the shroud's in the middle, or the cover, covering the branding, etc., that's painted up and that will be weathered as well. I think this is going to look the part. So yeah, I'm just going to do the other side of that, just to weather the edges. That's good. I'm going to do this bit as well, but I just want to make sure I don't hit the lens. So a wee bit more weathering there. See the difference? So let me just do a wee bit more on this one. There we go. That's looking a bit better. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. That's done exactly what I wanted it to do. Just a little bit of weathering. And then that'll be ready for the next stage. I'm really happy how these turned out. These are the weathered caps for the M1 helmet. You can see both look a bit different because they've been weathered differently. This one has a rip on this side. This one has a rip on that side. Just trying to make them a little bit different. But you can see here, if I look at this one, the different weathering, dirty marks, etc., which I'm really happy about. Mixture of the tea, the dirt, the coffee, and that is really came out really well. And hopefully I can put a before and after up so you can see what they look like before. Before they just looked too new, too clean. Now they have this sort of stained look as if they've been in battle, etc. So I'm really, really happy with how these turned out. And then once the 3D printed covering goes over it, they will really look the part. So yeah, really happy with how these look. In the next episode, it's all about painting and masking, and coming to the realisation that mustard may be your new best friend. So see you in the next episode.